Hello and welcome back to Talkin Pitchside. I'm your host PJ with my co-host Tony, as always, here to cover match week 11 in the MLS. A week full, we just talked about the pre-show, full of games and results that were a little bit shocking. All top five in the Supporters Shield race coming into this week did not win a game, which was pretty crazy. And you had some of the teams even just outside the top five lose in shocking ways, and there were some dramatic comebacks. So we'll get into all of it here. Just to preview next week's episode, we are going to be doing, of course, the regular MLS preview, but we're also going to be doing the start of our World Cup preview. So we're going to pick a group here. We're going to go through our group predictions and briefly just talk about those as we start ramping up here. We've got a month to go, and it doesn't really feel like it. I'm starting to see the advertising. Like
Yeah.
the Coke cans. You're starting
Did
to
you see
see
the
like the
Fox
pop
one
ups,
today?
the Fox
The
stuff. You're starting to see the
the
pop ups in
USA
grocery
winning the World Cup
stores, stuff
one.
like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's starting to build. I want it to really build, and then we'll live in a bar for a month as we watch all these games. So let's get into it, Tony. In the only way we know how, Toronto at 1 p.m. It's just a tradition like any other. Like
Yeah.
the Masters is not the tradition anymore.
Not
It
anymore. Yeah.
is Toronto at 1 p.m. And they were playing the number one team in our power rankings this past week, the San Jose Earthquakes. And this game ends in a 1-1 draw. Pretty fitting result. I think no team really played better than the other. This was a game that had the two best players on either side, or you could probably say three best players in the matchup entirely, all sidelined in Mihailovic, Sargent, and Timo Werner in this one, all out with injury. So it was a lot of the not necessarily B team, but a lot of like the role players on their A team having to step up. You saw Shalloway do it early, Judd respond immediately, and then from there on out, it was just chance after chance from both teams that no one could really get one across the line. Entertaining, but I think once you saw Werner not in the game and Sargent on the game, it kind of brought down the energy a little bit for what this game had. And credit to Toronto getting a point out of this one. I really didn't think they would be able to, but it's still continuing that trend we just keep saying every single week that we need Toronto to win more games at home if they want to be
Yeah.
taken seriously going forward in the rest of the season with all these home games they have in a row. Credit San Jose. We talk about all the time. You draw on the road, and it's a recipe for success. They are drawing the road without their best player, and I with no DPs on the field. So I think that's a positive for them. And actually, this was a DP-less game, but overall,
Wow.
fine game. Not I don't think that you take a ton out of this game because of the amount of people missing.
Yeah, I think honestly, this one I felt like Toronto lost. They, to me, had the better opportunities. Obviously, if you haven't seen it yet, crazy goal line clearance from Reed Roberts that will make all the highlight packages.
The
But
sliding
yeah,
clearance.
the
I'm still not
sliding
even convinced that he saved it.
yeah,
I
there's
don't
no
know.
definitive angle there, but I mean, it kind of seems like I'm like 60% sure it didn't go in, like
Yeah.
I don't think it did, but I'm not very certain of that. But honestly, what drove me a little bit more nuts about that play, if you watch it, Daniel Shalhoub like chips it, and then he kind of starts peeling off, like he knows it's going in,
Yeah.
and like if he would have stuck with that thing, I mean that clearance would have popped up like in front of him again, and he could have finished it. So like
Yeah.
worth mentioning there. I haven't necessarily seen anyone say that, but I just kind of felt like, dude, you got to follow that through. I
Well,
mean,
I
the
don't think
thing
anybody
is,
thought that ball could have been cleared.
I mean,
It's-
fair enough, but you never know. I guess I don't know. So, and I believe that there was another instance, maybe on a corner kick or something, where there was another goal line clearance from San Jose. Not nearly as dramatic, but all I have to say, Toronto had some really good opportunities. The goal that they give up just seemed like a completely dysfunctional defense on a set piece that
Mhm.
if Preston Judd wasn't going to score it, there's three other San Jose guys that got open, and like it was just like Toronto turned off for like 5 seconds, and that's what happened. So yeah, to build on that narrative, when you're at home, you got to start racking up some of these points. This is a real frustrating game because it felt like this is one they probably deserved to win.
Mhm.
On the San Jose side, this is what good teams do. Even in like games where you're not the better team, you're still getting results. Especially the long road trip from San Jose to Toronto. I think that they have to be pleased with where they're at. but in a way of saying, and like this is the classic PR trained response is like, oh yeah, but we've got our mistakes, we'll work on them. But like actually take that to heart, like that's what San Jose needs to look at this and say, just because they've had this electric start does not mean they're untouchable. Toronto's not a fortress, and you didn't come away with the win and actually look like the worst team on the day. So I think there's talking points here for both teams, but my overall taste is Toronto let themselves down here.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a tough hill to climb in the second half of the season. They're going to be on the road a ton, so
Yeah.
we shall see. The other afternoon game here, we were actually watching in a bar in Chicago with some Seattle fans at the bar, funny enough. And it was SKC at home versus Seattle. This game, another game where the goals were scored early. And then it felt like the end of that game, Seattle holding on for their life, or SKC holding on for their lives with some counterattack opportunities right at the end. And neither team get one across the line. There was a stretch there where I think we watched the like corner kicks or set pieces
Yeah.
like three times in a row. It was just like someone putting a limb out there and blocking a shot and saving it from going in the net. Good. I mean, SKC, anytime you get a point these days, it's a good game. So, pretty shocking result. I mean, you think
Yeah.
Seattle's just going to go in there and take care of business, and they don't, and kind of lives up to the storyline we said at the start of the episode. It's all of the top teams this week just struggled to get all 3 points. So, this was one of them. Your classic Jovic goal, and from that point on, it was defense, defense, defense for SKC and counter attacking when they could.
Man, the loudest reaction I get from this game is that I'm just so mad that Rodon gives away a ball like
Mm-hmm.
this close to a World Cup. Like we need confidence in our players right now. And there's other players around that have given us that and how they're playing with club. But Rodon's been a guy that's like, okay, he's probably a bubble guy, vibes guy. Honestly, you never know if
If he makes the
Pochettino
roster,
may play. I think
I mean,
Pochettino's love this man.
I know,
He's
Tony, but when
Diego
it comes
Luna
down to it,
2.0
he's
for
not going to
him.
put his hopes on.
He's not going
Hold
to
I,
start, but
I know, but
yeah,
he's gonna. I think at most you see him at the last like 15 minutes of a game. I'm just saying.
sure.
He for me is more of a vibes veteran selection than anything else for this roster.
Absolutely. But I mean, he's putting in some shifts in those
Hmm.
friendlies. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like obviously Adams will be back, so I think that takes away some of it. But anyways, instead of our U.S. men's national team tangent here, that was the biggest thing. I was like, you don't see that mistake normally from Roldan. I doubt you'll see it again, but it just kind of like lightning struck there. But I mean, Sporting Kansas City played like they knew that they were not the best team there, and honestly, more power to them because it got them a point out of this. And what I mean by that is that their average height of defensive actions was about 18 feet deeper than their normal. So they were like really bunkered in, and they already on average are like probably, you know, deepest top five deepest. Like they sit back the most out of a lot of teams just because a lot of teams bring it to them. And so honestly, they made it work. They got a turnover and they converted off it. That's the beauty of Jovic is you can trust him. He'll take with what he gets and he'll make something out of it. But the bend don't break. It broke once kind of against Paul Rothrock, but the rest of the Seattle team couldn't do it. They couldn't figure it out. There's plenty of looks, couple good saves. But for the most part, like you look at the numbers and Seattle did not generate nearly as much as they should have with the field tilt and everything that they had, the possession that they had. I mean, they had 2/3 of the possession, 26 shots, and only got 9 of them on target, 1.8 xG. Like that's just pretty inefficient. And I think some of that's Sporting Kansas City disrupting, but I think some of that also is Seattle, the new guys shaking a lot of the rust off too.
Hmm.
Ferreira, and I say new guys, the guys coming back from injury are just getting back in the swing of things. So that's something to watch. You never know with players coming back from injury. You kind of just assume, unless it's a very, very serious injury, that like they're going to return to their former glory. But Jordan Morris is getting older. Ariel is getting older. Rusnak's getting older. Like all these guys, right? So I think that maybe a blip on the radar for Seattle, but maybe this is a sign of what's to come with a team that's just had very little turnover in a long time. So I think
Hmm.
I'll plant that seed of the narrative now with these guys because I'm interested to see where they go from here.
Yeah, also just gonna take some coaching because the the one of the greatest assets they've had through all of the past what feels like 2 years of injuries is the depth. And
Hmm.
now these guys also aren't just gonna get consistent playing time across the board for a lot of the talent on the team. Like you saw like the subs they had come into the game, and it's like, oh, they're bringing on more proven MLS
Yeah,
talent for MLS proven talent, and I think that can be a coaching like battle at times where it's like, okay, which guys need to play because they just need to get a rhythm, like, and finding that balance between them. So we'll see how they go about that going forward. Next on the list here, we had RSL versus Portland, a game we pointed out in the preview. This is a perfect bounce back opportunity for RSL after two just tough, hard fought losses, and that's exactly what they did. Now, we didn't get to watch the game live. When I watched back the highlights this one, I couldn't believe they only won 2-0 because the first half, it felt like there was 25 highlights of RSL shooting the ball in the first half against this Portland team.
yeah.
So credit Portland for keeping it what it was defensively, but offensively could not really get anything going, and it was just RSL pouncing on the opportunity in the first half, and then just kind of sitting back and uh, just keeping this game at that 2-0 lead in the second.
Yeah, I mean, I think that not that this was a crazy call out, but I thought we predicted it pretty well.
Yeah.
And just saying that RSL was just going to come out the gate swinging. That's what they always do. If you look at like the momentum charts in this one, it's like, they did their big push. They got their 2 goals, and it was enough for them to kind of sit comfortably in cruise control and ride the rest of the game out. Now, that's what it looks like on the momentum chart. But to your point, like they really kept the gas on, and it is actually insane that they did not score more. Um, XG rated 5 great chances for RSL in this one, which we say every time is like 0.35 or more XG in a shot. 5 of those they didn't score off a single one. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
their chances came from much more poor percentage opportunities, and they had a lot of those too. They had a ton of shots just across the board in every category. So it's a bit of a miracle that they kept out more goals. RSL could have really ran train on this one, but it was their day. Gozo and Luna on the score sheet. That's not the last time you're going to hear that because those guys have just been going crazy for this RSL team. And this is an important result here for RSL too.
Yeah.
They hit a little bump in the road, dropped to Minnesota, or sorry, not to Minnesota, the Galaxy. They lost to Miami before that. It was like, okay, where are we heading with this? And this kind of puts their foot back in the ground, like they belong where we say they are, or not even quite as like maybe further than that. So another confidence booster for RSL. No need to pull any alarms. They're doing their thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it really was one we predicted pretty well. Like it
Yeah,
was kind of written on the wall. You just kind of knew that after Portland maybe looked okay that they were due for one of these as well. So
yeah,
um,
that's
it was it's the story of the Portland Timbers. It feels like it's just up and down. So we'll see how they bounce back as well. Next, possibly what a lot of people will consider the game of the week was
yeah.
Miami and Orlando. This game was nutty. If you haven't watched the highlights, please go back and watch them. Miami goes up 3-0 in the first half. You just see that Messi last third goal. You're like, okay, done and dusted. This is classic Miami. And Messi showing up against Orlando. You don't got to worry about this one. And then this game just got flipped on its head. And I really don't understand how. Because you watch back this game as well. Like, there's no way Miami should have lost this game, but they did. And Martin Ojeda went nuts. Um, it just felt like any opportunity that Orlando had, they capitalized on. That's really what it came down
Yeah,
to, is that
yeah,
their chances they finished, and there weren't a ton of them. And like you saw Spicer's counterattack goal at the end. I don't know what Miami was doing defensively in that situation, and it was a collapse. And I don't. It just keeps feeling like I want to be like Miami's fine, which they are. Like they're sitting near the top of the East, like they're fine. But these games are weird. I don't know how to explain what's going on with this team. Like, is right when you feel like they're going to take the step to go forward, they take another step back, and they just can't find any consistency on like a full team effort. Like, it's never the offense and the defense clicking at the same time. So it's a weird game, and the defense is, like we've said over the past couple years, just going to continue to be the thing. Like, if they're going to win, it's going to have to be that, and they're going to have to show up to some degree. So we will see how it ends up. But credit to Orlando. Enjoy this day. This is a great day that you can just be like, okay, let's try and build off of this a little bit. And you're starting to see more signs. I'm feeling good about their chances of just surviving
Hmm.
until Antoine Griezmann gets there to be at least competitive in the playoff race.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big part of it. But I mean, the story here is Miami. I'll go a little bit further. The story here is Miami coaching. Messi maybe it's like LeBron coaches the Lakers. Messi coaches Miami,
Hey, that's
but
disrespect to JJ Redick. Come on.
yeah, I will. I'll continue to do that. Um, but here's the thing: is Messi isn't making subs, and neither is this interim coach Hoyos. Uh, they left four defenders or three defenders on the bench in this one. Only made two subs this whole game. Meanwhile, we saw Orlando adjust at halftime, bring on Spicer, who gets a goal, bring on Edward Atuesta, who came on for Otavio, who was kind of the weaker of the pivot. And that ended up paying off, too, because the other pivot, the other Ojeda, Brian Ojeda, ends up getting an assist in one of those comeback goals as well. So it just felt like, you know, Orlando. This actually was an interim head coach off, by the way, too. But
Mm-hmm.
but Orlando made adjustments and Miami did not, and it just felt like a one track mind thing. And by the time Orlando found what was working, Miami just kind of almost in a you can interpret this however you want. In my mind, it was an arrogance to say, "Oh no, we're fine. We've got the better players on the field. Like we will not change what we're doing. Like we know it works." And like to some extent, like I mean, yeah, you put up 3 goals in a span of like 25 minutes, totally. But it just to really win these games. Obviously, we just saw, and maybe this is a good learning lesson for them now. Like you can't like approach those games like that with that mindset. And that's what really felt like changed for me was that Miami didn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make of where Miami goes. The coaching thing is not going to be a quick thing. They're not going to hire someone tomorrow. So uh, we're going to keep seeing them draw in Miami and lose in Miami, honestly, until they get something figured out like that. Until they get Bertrame figured out, because I don't know what's going on with him either. Like there's just it's a little bit of a mess right now, and they were in this exact spot almost this exact time last year, and figured it out at the right time and went rolling. So I'm not pulling any fire alarms, but what I am saying is they need to learn lessons now, or they're going to fall down the table further than we thought.
Yeah, it is different. I mean, they don't have a coach.
Yeah,
They don't have a coach. They weren't dealing with that last year. They were dealing with a new coach, which is a different like story. But they're now going to have to do that even later into this year. So I don't know. It's weird. It feels like, and you see this like in basketball a lot in the playoffs which is going on right now. But like a team all year, you're like, yeah, they're just gonna like figure it out though. They're just gonna figure it out. And sometimes like they get there and like they end up losing. You're like, the signs were there all year. Like
yeah,
we watched it all year of like
right.
how they just never figured it out. So, if I were to want to like really feel like put my place in where they'll be, it's still going to be that they're going to be the MLS Cup like type team. But like if this keeps going past the World Cup, like everyone's going to be like looking around like, okay, like
Yeah,
when is it actually going to click? So we'll see. But I think Orlando, you just got to give them all the credit. Really fun game, enjoy it, and you've now had a couple games recently that you can kind of start to build upon a little bit. Defense still don't feel great about, but that's another story.
different story. Yeah,
Um, Game we don't need to spend too much time on, but we have Atlanta beating Montreal. Atlanta have now won, if you count the Open Cup, 3 straight games and 2 straight MLS games, which is good. They needed it. I think just morale wise, the team needed a little push like this. So that's a good 6 points in back-to-back weeks. And Montreal can only beat New York teams. That's my only notes on them from this game.
Yeah, it's unfortunately really true for them. But hey, I think that this game was 3-1, but it ended up being probably playing a lot closer. Atlanta
Mhm.
was did right in the right moments, which is new for them, and hopefully that's not something they can just do against Montreal. But really, the numbers, the opportunities, the possession, all of that, Montreal had their fair share too. Um, and it just ended up being Atlanta that converted, including Latte Loth, which that was kind of a selfless layoff from Moranchuk. But still,
Mhm.
sometimes you just got to see one go in, which we've said about Latte Loth, and that didn't work. But
Sometimes it hasn't worked usually, but
sometimes you have to see a bunch go in.
yeah.
But um, yeah, I think that if anything, these two teams are going to be duking it out in similar spots of the table all year. So
Yep.
sad but true.
Yep. Moving on, we have the Columbus Crew at home blowing a 2-0 lead, the most dangerous lead in all of sports.
Mm,
And man, this game went, I'll say this, it went exactly how we said it would in terms of how these teams were going to play. We said that Minnesota was probably going to now be more of that type of team we've seen them be in the past, sit back just because Columbus plays so possession heavy at times. And that's exactly what happened. Columbus gets the goals. I mean, really, there are only like two real chances when I watched it back in this game that like I felt great about them scoring. Like, it, besides that, they didn't create a ton, and then Minnesota in the second half, it was just relentless on the counter. It felt like, and even in possession at times, like they just it felt like Columbus just after the second goal, we're just like we're good. We're gonna get all 3 points, and then Minnesota was just like, nope, we're gonna take this. And Yoboa went crazy. Markinich gets the last goal. I don't know. It's right when you felt good about Columbus, they do something like this at home. So I
yeah,
don't I don't really know what this team's gonna be. I think they're gonna be exactly what they are right now, which is right around like that playing spot type of team all year. Um, and that's what happens when you have a new coach. You lose Nagby, and one of your best players gets hurt, your highest paid player probably gets hurt. So it's gonna be one of those seasons. And credit Minnesota, man, they keep it rolling. I mean, they had the hiccup last week. We talked about it, but we felt like they came out of that game still as like playing as one of the better teams in the game. So you wanted to see them respond like this, and that's exactly what they did with the second half comeback. And not very often you see just huge comebacks like this, and we had quite a few this week.
yeah. And actually, I failed to mention. I don't know if you saw this, but the Orlando Miami comeback that was the largest ever road comeback in MLS history.
Yeah, I think it was only the
So
fourth time that a team has come back from 3-0
yeah,
down, and
right.
all the other times were at home, like you said. So
It's
just
yeah
not
nuts.
happened.
So yeah, so this one, I mean, not history like that, but certainly impressive. All three of their goals come from set pieces, which I think has got to be the main frustration with Columbus. And kind of like what you said, it just feels like one thing kind of falls apart after the other, and nothing can really seem to line up and all work together at one time. In this one, it felt like they just did not have the physical dominance that you really need if you're going to play in Minnesota, who, we talk about their hunkering and kick and run all the time, but set pieces is a large part of their identity. That long throw, especially, can really mess teams up. And I forget if it was a long throw or a corner kick, but one of them, it was like double flicked on header that went through to get finished. And it's like that just cannot happen in your box where you're losing two headers in a row like that. Um, so that's, I mean, just add to the list of problems that we just saw from this one. Minnesota, I think, particularly is going to make that problem a lot more prominent when you ever play against them. You may not feel that as much when you're playing teams in the East, but it does seem like one of those things where it's like, okay, so now we need another striker. Okay, now we need another center back. Okay, now we need, and it's just like there needs to be some grounding. It just feels like right now, Rossi's the only player you're truly certain of. Rossi and Arfston. I'll say Rossi and
Hmm.
Arfston are the only players that you're surely firm of. Like, oh yeah, I want to keep them. Everything else, it's like, man, they could use a pretty hard reset. And on top of all that, we'll keep talking about coaches today. Rydstrom, um, it's not the same crew anymore, and I don't know if maybe like it's one of those things where you can't play like Nante plays, and so now you've been left, kind of a set of tools that only works that way, but you can't really coach it like that, and it leaves you with this unique issue where if you got a long leash, that's great, you can kind of move people around, but I don't know that that's the case. I'm not sure that we're saying that his seat is hot, but I think that there's other seats in this league that are cooler, I guess. Um, I don't know, something to really think about too with these crew struggles.
Yeah, I still feel like it's early, and he hasn't had like a second transfer window to get some people in that he wants as his guys. So I think they'll give him at least the full year.
Yeah, and he's
I, I
only had like three DPs for like 3 weeks basically.
yeah,
So
I think it would have to get pretty bad for them
yeah,
to do something like that. Maybe Nancy will walk back in.
not
Uh,
impossible.
moving on here, we have actually I'm just gonna say it like this: put some respect on the New England Revolution. They just
Mm.
quietly are having one of the better seasons in the MLS so far. Uh, they win this game at the death with a Carlos Hill penalty. Matt Turner for the U.S. men's national team talk had a good game in this one, had some good saves in this one, and they get a win at home. We're coming out of this one probably more questions about what Charlotte is at this point versus like hyping up what this was for the New England Revolution. Not a great game. I mean, it came down to a penalty at the end. Like you expect them to win this game at home more convincingly, but when you get all 3 points at home, you get all 3 points at home, and they deserved it. They played better, and Charlotte definitely had their chances. They just couldn't convert. And like I said, Matt Turner
Yeah.
had a solid game, and this one just keeps it pretty low for Charlotte right now. I don't think anyone feels great about what's coming the summer transfer window with the inevitable exit of Wilfred Zaha at this point, and what this team will look like even after that. So they're one team that's one to watch in the summer transfer window and the activity they're going to have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Charlotte's got some work to do, but I think, like you said, this has got to be about New England. We love talking about winning at home. New England is 5 wins in 5 games at home this season. They have been perfect, and like that already. I mean, you see how we're talking about it, but look at them in the table. They're second in the Eastern Conference. They have barely done anything on the road, but winning every single game at home has put them in second. So like that's the kind of that's what we're talking about, right? This is the case study of like you can win at home, you get a point on the road. They have one draw on the road, 3 losses, and 1 win. Like it's not good on the road, but they're in second because they get business done at home.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's why we say that. That's why we model it after that. Um, Matt Turner, in my opinion, hero of the day. Uh, Charlotte had a lot of good opportunities. I think 4 big chances. Those were their 4 shots on target. Obviously, none of those find their way into the net. Matt Turner has a lot to thank for that. And I think it was just New England kind of trusting the process, staying up on Charlotte. It was I think, kind of a harsh handball call on them to get that penalty. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is. They're flirting around it in the box. Like you can't let them dance there, you know. So I think that they're still deserved winners. This New England team is, and like you said, it's kind of drawing board time this summer. I think for Charlotte during the World Cup break.
Yeah, I I don't even know where to start honestly with and I think it starts in the I guess it starts in the attack. They just need some type of overhaul on how they're playing and who's up there because they're not getting done as of late.
Yeah,
Next game we don't need to spend too much time on here is the Union drawing Nashville at home. Of course,
Nashville B
rotated
team.
uh,
Yeah,
rotated Nashville side. Um, Union just can't find a way to win a game. And I feel for him. I think the biggest story coming out of this one was Kevin Sullivan being subbed off when he was, and him showing a little bit of emotion as he's coming off and frustration that he's being taken off. Um, because I saw a lot of people saying like he was probably the best player on the field for Philly at the time, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know why you're not playing a guy like this right now. Like if you're this bad, like just play Kevin Sullivan as much as you can, just to keep like I don't know. I guess they've already sold him. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
It's not even like you're trying to build value, but it's like at this point you want to use Kevin Sullivan as much as you can before he goes. Like, why aren't you
right.
playing him? So,
Well, it's
I'm
so weird
sure they're
because like
restricting and
that's what I thought, right? And Philly fans have been screaming for more Kevin Sullivan basically all season because like now like the glimpses you have gotten of him, it's like, oh, he can actually like play extended minutes in MLS. Before it was like, okay, he's a kid and maybe he could show a flash, but like, you know, you can't trust him. This year you can trust him. And that's kind of what I thought was like, okay, it has to be a minutes restriction thing. It's got to be part of the deal. But then him getting all worked up, getting subbed off, it like kind of says to me like that's not it, you know?
yeah,
And for a Philly team that has banked really heavily on pushing kids through the academy and get them onto the field, and then to do this, like
with
I
like
just
the crown jewel. It's
yeah,
like this
well,
is the
like
guy.
the kid of the generation. Um, it does not make sense to me why they don't play him more. I do not get it. Especially, I mean, you can already call this season a wash, really, for Philly. Like, provide some bright spots, you know, like make a headline for Kevin Sullivan getting his first goal and like all this stuff, right? You can move the media off your record with him and talk about other things, and they just refuse to do so. It makes no sense to me. So that breaks my brain. Nashville B team, way to get a point on the road. That's all you needed.
They
Great
keep
job,
doing it.
guys.
They
Yeah, right.
they keep getting results. It's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, I think we're gonna see as good as Nashville's been. I think we're gonna see the best of Nashville after they're out of CONCACAF. Like we once the Surge gets healthy, they're out of that competition. Like
they're gonna be
you're gonna see this
scary.
team killing people. So,
Yeah.
and they're in first already, despite all of this. So, credit to them.
Yep.
Uh, moving on, we had the New York Red Bulls taking on Dallas. Dallas handily wins this one on the road. Red Bulls are on a slide. This is a brutal stretch for Red Bulls now. They aren't producing like they were goals wise, like attacking wise, as like early in the season. And this is the first real stretch I think under Michael Bradley that you're seeing him have to get tested because they're not finding solutions as of right now. And for Dallas, Musa comes back in a big way, gets the goal, and just shows out like Musa knows how. So when this team goes as he goes, if he's healthy, they're going to be decent and competitive, and he's an MVP candidate when he's on the field. It and I mean winning 2-0 on the road that's a gutsy win to go into New
Yeah.
York and do that. Despite even them being on a slide like they were, it's a tough place to go win.
Yep. Musa back. Farrington also subbed in back, got the assist on the second goal. Both really important for this Dallas team. I want to talk about the Red Bulls for just a second in a way, like I've mentioned my fears about the youth movement, and I think that it's been great for a lot of different reasons, but I think that one reason that maybe getting exposed here a little bit that kind of came to my attention in this game specifically was, Julian Hall. He's been a great attacker, right? We've seen him score impressive goals for his age. Defensively, he is giving jack squat. He is 12th percentile in forwards and aerial duels won, 21st percentile in defensive contributions. And even touches, he's low on chances created. He's low on, like, he's been good at finishing, but it becomes a little bit of an island and a little bit of a fresh breath of air when you lose, the ball, the other team gets a chance to set up. And I feel like Dallas, we know that they're not very robust in their depth or really in their possession style, but you give them a chance to set up, you give them a chance to find their stars, they're going to do that to you. And I think that, like in a way you kind of want to challenge this and say like, maybe the physicality needs to grow in a little bit more, and they're still young. And so that's tough. I get it. But that's the other side when you got a guy like Choupo-Moting who's not going to be a pressing god, but is going to provide that physicality, is going to win more of those aerial duels, hold up the ball a little bit more, all those things. It just gives you a little bit more stability and doesn't let your opponent breathe as much. That's the part I'm worried about that is happening here with Red Bulls, is that they're kind of letting other people run their systems in a little bit more form. It worked well at the beginning of the season because teams are still kind of figuring themselves out. But now 10 games in and teams have a better idea of what they look like and what they do. It's starting to come back and bite them a bit. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep riding this out or if they pivot.
Yeah, as of late, because of injuries and whatnot, you've gotten nothing out of your DPS, like literally nothing from
Mm-hmm.
Forsberg and Choupo-Moting as of recently, um, which is just a recipe for losing. And even if the kids are playing well, you're not going to win if your DPS aren't giving you anything. So, will be interesting to see how they get more involved as Michael Bradley kind of continues to build this out.
Yeah.
Um, Moving on to the drunkest game of the week, the game we were at, and that was Chicago FC Cincinnati. First half, awesome. I think we were sitting there. You go goal for goal, and Kuipers and Evander just back and forth with each other. Both the Chicago goals were just built on that right side, just crossing it back into the box, and they were taking advantage of once again Cincinnati having one true center back in the field, and you saw Brian Anuga back there a lot, just trying to do whatever he could, just couldn't. Kuipers capitalizes on both, and then early in the second half, you have Kyle Smith just destroy Robin Lode's face on a ball he's just trying to clear, and I mean, very accidental. He's trying to clear it. Robin Lode's putting his head in for the ball, and he hits him right in the face. And a lot of those you end up watching back, and it's like, oh, he just kind of grazed, and the guy like flopped, and Robin Lode got up, and
Got him
us from
good.
the stands, like from where even we were,
Yeah.
you saw the blood going down his face, like right around the eye nose area. So prayers that he's all good. He seems good. He walked off like he was okay. I'm sure he got stitched up to a degree, and he's doing better now. So that happens, and you're like, okay, now it's just survival time for FC Cincinnati. You don't really expect them to survive because of this Chicago Fire attack. If you want to get the most entertaining heat map of the week, this is the one. And the expected goals, whatnot, all the stats. I mean, Chicago's expected goals in this game were 4.47. They lose the game 3-2. They had 33 shots in this game, and half of those felt like they came in the last like
Yeah.
15 minutes. But they finally get a penalty in the 90th minute, and you're like, as Cincinnati, as a player and a fan, you're like, are you kidding me? Like, you survive 40
Right.
minutes, and then the sub comes in, makes the error in the box. I still haven't even, honestly, I never saw the clip, so I never even saw how
It's hard to
uh,
see even looking back
much he
at
got
it.
him.
Like it's just too fast. But
Yeah, so I think it was Zinkernagle goes down, Kuipers comes up, take the pen. Everyone in the building is just like, this is it. This is game over. And Roman Santano makes the save, and you're like, holy, like, whoa, Cincinnati's got to get out here with a point. Not so fast, my friend. Cincinnati counters and gets a penalty on the other end within a minute of that penalty save. And Pavel Buka took a nasty cleat through the ball. Player did get the ball, but when you go through the ball to cleat up and take out a guy's ankle, they're going to call that 10 times out of 10. Buka, who ended up getting injured on that tackle, had to stay in the game limping around because they didn't have any subs left, down to
yeah.
10 men. So they basically played with 9 men after this penalty is made by Vander, and they hold on. Crazy game. It was one that we were happy we went to selfishly as Cincinnati fans. Chicago's gonna be super disappointed. I mean, I couldn't believe some of the shots that didn't go in, and we had some views of, I think it was Zinkernagel's low driven shot right at the end that went just outside
Yeah.
the post to equalize. Plenty of chances, and credit to Cincinnati. Credit to Roman Salentano, made some good saves in this one. They just held on, and Evander has just come out of nowhere, like shot of a cannon the past couple weeks. Like, this is the MVP version of Evander that you've been waiting for if you're Cincinnati, and all of a sudden they're now playing some really good soccer and catapulting themselves up the Eastern Conference standings as a lot of teams are dropping. So crazy game. Two teams that come out of this game still being like, these are two teams that are going to be in the playoffs, like fighting this year, and um, I think it was more just FC Cincinnati took advantage of a really weird ending of this one, and that's
Yeah.
about it.
This feels like a very plausible like 4 or 5 seed playoff matchup
Oh
round
yeah,
one. You know,
mm-hmm.
which
And
by
it's
the way, that'd be box office. Both
it'd
the
be the
games they
highest
played this
scoring
season,
playoff
yeah, yeah,
series.
both the games they played this season have been super entertaining. But yeah, I like a lot to go off of here. I think, well, one thing worth talking about is that Berhalter did say that the PK at the end against them was rightfully called. He agreed with the call that
Yeah.
it was a penalty kick. I know there was some discourse on that online. So, well, let's clear the air there. I don't think that there was anything like that was like a crazy call or wrong call or anything like that. Um, I want to look at Chicago in this and make it about them. And I think, yeah, certainly there's some argument okay, that I mean, even before the PK, there were so many opportunities.
Hmm.
And even when it was before the red card, they still had moments. And a lot of their goals were kind of cleaning up loose balls and Cincinnati's failure to clear and those kind of things, which they all count the same once they hit the net. Like that works out if you keep putting the ball in dangerous spots like they were doing, especially in the first half. You're going to be rewarded from that. Um, and it didn't go in for them. And sometimes you have games like that, and sometimes you look at that and say man, you already have pretty much all the attackers in place that you hope for. Like when we talk about this summer transfer window, we're not talking about who's going to be on the wings. We're going to talk about Andre Franco becoming healthy again and being a designated player attacking mid. And we're going to talk about who are we going to put next to Jack Elliott at center back, because they're not really missing that many pieces. And so when you think that way, it's man, then maybe they should have won this game, especially at home. They should have found a way if these are really the guys. So I don't know, something to think about there. But I do agree that this is a really well played game from Cincinnati, very adaptable. A lot of different scenarios thrown at them, a lot of juggling around positions, and making it work. I think Trilla needs another shout out because he played really well in this one. I think also seeing Matt Miazga come back in this one is huge. And I don't know if we'll ever see him be a 90-minute player again, but even if he can just come off the bench and close out games for 15, 20 minutes, he does not lose a header.
Oh
Like,
no.
he, like, he would just be so impactful and helpful in that way alone, right? To just defend leads. So that was
Hmm.
huge. Evander was clinical in front of net, which is a big part too. I mean, they had 5 shots or 6 shots on the night, and every single one was pretty much on target.
Hmm.
So that was just important. That's what made this game a game, is Cincinnati shots were going in, and they were converting even when Chicago wasn't. So,
Yeah.
uh, runner up for game of the week, if it weren't for the biggest comeback in MLS history, I think it probably would have been game of the week. But very fun, two very attacking minded teams right now that I'd watch them every week, honestly, if
Yeah.
that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. FC Cincinnati stuck to their lineup that won them the game last week and really rode with that. I think that was Pat just kind of saying, um, these guys proved it to me last week that we can play a certain way, and
Yeah.
they rode with it, and they looked good offensively. It really was Chicago, just a couple chances they really took advantage of, and they both of them were deflected on Kuiper's shot that just happened to still go into the back of the net. So, like you said, Trill looked good. You have Matt Miazga with the most Matt Miazga performance of headers clear the ball, slide tackle in the box,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
last second to clear ball. Was a really was a drunk game. It was a drunk second half. That's what it felt like. Okay, Houston Dynamo take down Colorado. Colorado's on a little bit of a slide now. Houston get all 3 points. They needed all 3 points, and that bottom of the Western Conference playoff positions now are getting really messy. There's a lot of teams in that mix. I mean, the 7th to the 12th seed is separated by 4 points. So
Yeah.
you're seeing some good teams outside the playoff spot right now. One of which we'll definitely get into later. But great win for Houston. They needed this one. This was not a pretty offensive game. There's not a lot of highlights out of this one. Defenses played well. This was a midfield battle. It felt like at times. Colorado had 62% possession. This game just could not get any opportunities going. And you see that with these style of teams every once in a while. It's just like if another team is defensively sound and you can't break them down, it looks kind of ugly when you have possession and you're just passing it around the outside of the box. I mean, they had 4 shots in this entire game, Tony. 4 shots. Not on target, just 4 shots. So that's crazy impressive for Houston to only allow 4 shots while allowing 62% possession on the other end. And then they finally get their chance, and Ali scores in the 72nd minute, and they go home happy. So two teams that need it still don't feel great about Houston's offense coming out of this one. Like it's still a work in progress at this point, but you'll take 3 points where you can get them.
Yeah, this one, I mean, just did not go to Colorado's plan. Rob Holding subbed out with an injury, 33rd minute. Josh Atencio subbed out 39th minute with an injury. So right then and there, I mean, you're already burning 2 subs in the first half on injuries. And I think that hurt them a little bit. I'm not quite sure why Paxton Aronson didn't start this game. He was one of the injury subs in the first half, so he still played about an hour of this. But I think that is kind of interesting to me because, like the first place my mind goes when you say numbers like, oh yeah, they had 62% possession and only 4 shots. Like, okay, how are we turning this possession into opportunities? Like, I'm looking at who your man's supposed to be there, and in this case, it is Paxton Aronson. He played an hour in this one, was pretty quiet. I don't know if he's kind of got a knock or something, and maybe that impacted how he was playing and contributing to this game. But that's kind of what it felt like to me, is that like that they're kind of missing that gap, that bridge from possession or even like the defense holding the ball and breaking the line to the midfield and so on and so forth up to net. So that's frustrating because like you look at it that way and it's like, oh man, Colorado probably should have won this game. I mean, Houston had 0.3 xG, and if it weren't for a heroic goal from Anali, this probably would have been 0-0. So that being said, that felt like road points up for the taking for Colorado. And I know like pretty unlucky with some of this injury stuff in the first half, but I think it needs to be said out like beyond that, like this is a team that like we know for being aggressive attacking wise, and then to put up something like this, it kind of feels either uncharacteristic or against the blueprint of what they want to be as a team. And either way, like both are kind of worrisome for this Colorado team.
Yeah, it's just a weird game. It's not one you can really take. You can't come out of this one like feeling super positive, even as Houston.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're still like we need to figure something out offensively and how to build attack better. So we'll see how they go about it going forward. One of the teams I said that is in outside the playoff spot looking in is San Diego, and
Oof.
we talked about them this being a perfect bounce back. You're going to be playing an LAFC rotated squad, which it was. It was Bouanga and friends of rotated players. Shocked that Bouanga was playing. I know he did not play in the midweek, of course. So I
Yeah.
think that may have been them ramping him up for this game that they're going to be playing in the midweek here. But San Diego goes up 2-0. You're like early and goes up 2-0 late, 71st minute. You're like, okay, this is they're gonna get all 3 points. Perfect situation. They needed the win, and then LAFC subs on some guys, and they score the 82nd goal and the 90 plus 16 minutes goal. This one got drunk. I
Yeah.
watching it back, and because we were riding a train when it was going on, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. And San Diego, this was like a moral crusher. Like
Yeah.
it you just get this is soul crushing when you're looking for any type of life to blow this one as late as they did, the way they did. And LAFC, I mean, you got to feel good. You just rotated for the midweek for most of this game, and you're coming out with a point on the road. So, solid performance from LAFC to fight back. But San Diego, I mean, had classic San Diego possession against a team like LAFC, but still, once again, this offense and Dreyer, just like you're not seeing what you saw last year. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
the amount of chances and shots that you used to see last year versus now it is damning for where they are and confidence wise and what their buildup looks like.
Okay, but let me start with I'll defend San Diego a little bit. Not saying it shouldn't have counted, but I'm yet to see a really good explanation as to why that second LAFC goal did count. Because that was so clearly a handball that then bounces
No,
to Ryan's Holly head. Like I don't get that. So I think their frustration is very warranted there on that. And I'm waiting for the instant replay with Andrew Wiebe to come out so I can watch that back because I know for a fact that they're going to talk about that on there.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
which I
yeah,
really quick, I get that. I'm just still frustrated as a neutral, going, this was your chance to take advantage of a team, and you have to complain about that. Like, you should never have been in that position in the first place.
yeah, but you also take everything you can get, and like when the whole
I
world
get
is
it. I
operating
get it.
against you, not just the opposing team.
It's how it feels like
Like
how it goes when you're a team in this type of
I'm just
slide.
saying,
Yeah.
if that gets called back, you don't even hear about that. You don't even hear
No,
about
I
that if
get
it
it.
gets called
I get
back
it.
and San Diego wins, and we're sitting here talking about getting back on the right track. So
I get it.
like that's the margin which was totally out of their control. Now I'm done defending them. I will say to your point, like the offense isn't where it is, where it used to be. Um, and they're flying the free Chucky Lozano banners over the stadium before the game, and like there's a serious lack of like personnel up there. I mean, Dreyer whipped in 2 assists, and that's great. Like, but you need more than him, and like
Hmm.
Ingvarsson Brace, like that, buy a lottery ticket because you're not going to see that again. Like that's
Hmm.
just not, you know what I mean? So the offense needs some serious help. That is outside of any bad call that they got against them. Like they need to be doing more. This was a young LAFC team. They could have taken advantage of more. Things were running for them. Um, but at the end of the day, it's like we're regressing to the mean. I think is kind of where we're at until this roster gets fixed. Until like they actually go and do something. It sort of feels like to me like ownership, that they buy this team, they put the money in. Oh, great. This is the amount of salary we need to pay a team in order to get first in the Western Conference. Let's just rinse and repeat. And now you're
Hmm.
learning all these hard lessons that are new to being, a manager of a team in this league that like you can't keep things the same like that. Everything's going to progress around you. You're going to, like all that stuff. Right. So, um, that's what we're experiencing with San Diego now. LAFC, way to go. Point on the road. Same thing with Nashville. Like LAFC B team, congratulations, you did your job. Now head down. We're going to Toluca. That's that's where we're at.
Yeah, it is. It feels like San Diego's having their expansion year, like their second
Yeah,
year. Like
right.
it's like
It
this is
is.
what the normal first year looks like. Is the growing pains, the frustrations with roster construction, a lot of those things you feel in year one. It's like they're having it delayed a year. So interesting. Interesting to see how they will attack this summer transfer window because there's got to be something.
There
You got to
needs to
imagine there's
be.
something
There
coming.
needs to be. Yeah.
Um, okay, well, let's keep moving here. Late night game, we had LA Galaxy in Vancouver, and we expected uh, this to not be like a blowout. I did expect Vancouver to win, and they're gonna feel like they should have won this game, um, even despite scoring late. Payne still is alive. There's a pulse right out of the second half. He shows up.
Yeah.
Vancouver gets the goal in the 82nd minute, but I mean, they had all majority of the chances in this one. They had so many chances to score, couldn't do it. Get a point in the road, so it's once again like we're like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But when it's a performance like this, you expect all 3 points on the road, and just the style and quality of team they are against this like zombie version of the LA Galaxy. You just expect them to show up and win this type of game. So credit, I give credit to both these teams for showing up the way they did. And Galaxy, at this point, with injuries and everything stacked up against you, you just gotta get points any way you can before the World Cup and the summer transfer window. And that's what they did here against one of the best teams in the MLS.
Yeah. So honestly, the talking point for me about this one is off the field with Mueller traveling with the team, but not dressing. But he was
In the
sick, but
stands.
he was
Yeah.
in the stands. So he's spreading it to everybody else, or like if you're
No.
not good
Yeah.
enough to go, why'd you go? I don't know. Like that was just kind of a weird little thing for me.
It's
But
not COVID anymore. We can all just spit
I
on each other.
guess, yeah. But we'll give everybody else on the team because I know he hopped right in the bus in the locker room with all these
Yeah.
guys. Like,
Who knows what it was? Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
some
weird.
injury
Anyways,
reports can be. funky too. That he might have not
Yeah,
have actually been sick. Who
I don't
knows?
know. The one clip I saw of him, he was doing the like cough hand thing in the box, and I was like,
Selling it. Good
yeah,
actor.
right, yeah, right. Who knows what it actually was? Maybe he was just tired, but um, this had a game that like really needed him bad. Like they dominated in every way. You just needed that little spark, that little special moment. And like all you needed was one of those from Mueller, even if it was in the last 10, 15 minutes. So that's kind of the like what could have been, should have been, would have been type deal for Vancouver in this one because they deserve to win it.
Hmm.
Galaxy, though, like you said, I mean, clinging on to a point in this one still probably you could take a little moral victory in that. But this was all about Vancouver and um, Mueller's absence, but then kind of to tag onto the back of that, like Vancouver has been a very next man up team as well with some good depth. And maybe we were a little let down by that in this game that nobody did step up with this one and they rescued that goal late, but just felt like with all those chances, man, something else should have gave. Someone else could have been the star here, and it didn't fall that way. So, in the slightest sense, because our expectations for Vancouver are so high, like I think we are a little bit disappointed in them, but at the same time, I think everything they're doing here is totally fine, and there's
Yeah.
no reason to be worried.
Yeah. I don't come out of this game changing my opinion on these two teams
Yeah.
very much about where I see them both. Let's get into our Sunday afternoon snoozers. No offense to these teams. Uh, the first game was a little bit of a shock, and I think we saw this as a good opportunity for NYCFC to get back on track, and because they have been sliding for quite a while now, and they did nothing of the sorts. DC wins this game 2-0, gets the early goal, and then gets the penalty late. Another story of a team that dominated possession this week and just could do nothing with it, and we're seeing this all over the league right now. I mean, DC to have 27% possession in this game and have an XG of 2.65 is incredible.
Yeah.
It's the most impressive thing I've seen. They more than doubled NYCFC's shot total, chances in this one with so little possession. And we're now at the point where NYCFC was such a good story at the start of the year because, they didn't get the DP9. They didn't really do anything to solve that. They come out, they're flying high, and then they since then they've fallen off a cliff and they're just plummeting fast down the Eastern Conference standings. They, I mean, Enzo's had a great season up top, but you still got to imagine they're just looking for any type of answer. All respect to Maxi Morales because he's still putting in a shift every single game, every single day. But like at some point, we've just got to change things. And right
Yeah.
now, they're looking like another team that's primed for a summer transfer window to get in some life on this team and get some more attacking creation within this offense because after the first hot start of those games they just were scoring nonstop. They haven't been able to score at all, and it's just been a brutal showing for them late. Credit to DC, man. I, we I don't know how I want to best describe it because I think teams like Philly exist right now. But like there is no team right now that I'm like they're for sure the one spoon team. Like the
Mm.
bottom of the league is, in my opinion, more competitive than it was last year. Like you're seeing teams
Yeah.
fight a little bit more,
Sporting Kansas City,
and
but
that's true.
they
That's
drew
yeah,
Seattle though, so I guess there's
that's what I'm
still
saying.
some fuel to the
Like,
argument. Yeah.
but DC is not winning the win spoon. I can guarantee you that right now. They
Yeah.
are more talented than win spoon, and
They're
they're
in the top half of the league right now.
yeah,
They're
like
in
this is
13th.
a legit team that the floor is raised. Now, I don't think what they did today against NYC or this weekend was sustainable. Like allowing 73% possession is going to catch up to you eventually. But if you can win games like this on the road every once in a while, like you're just stealing points. Like anything more than a draw on the road is stealing points to add to your total for the season. So credit to them. They really came out and played and took advantage of every opportunity that they had.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, DC showed up for this game in New York, did not. I mean, that's just kind of point blank where we're at. Saw an article. It was a New York City reporter writing DC United looked like the home team in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I can't really put a finger on exactly what went wrong, but again, when you say numbers like super slim possession and way more chances in XG, it kind of makes me feel like defensively, like that midfield was Swiss cheese. Whenever you get the ball, you get a free trip at goal and fast. And so that's kind of what I wonder about with New York City here. Matt Freese, I think, prevented at least a goal in this one. If you have an average keeper in net here, I mean, this score could have gotten even more out of control. Um, and so that's kind of where we're at with things is like, what do you do with this New York City team that feels a little bit rudderless at the moment? I think Alonso Martinez isn't too far from returning from his ACL injury, but that's still, I mean, we say that now, but that could easily be like as soon as World Cup break ends, kind of
Yeah,
return too. Just depends on where he's at with things. So,
but he's a guy coming off an ACL tear.
but and yeah, right, and you never know what they're going to look like after that too, or where their cardio is at. He's not going to come in and play 90 minutes first time, as we saw for our most recent ACL return that we'll talk about next game. But yeah, it's directionless. It just feels weird right now. Pascal Janssen with New York City FC has been in the past pretty highly touted for being able to adapt his tactics and really kind of throw in some riddles for other teams that they can't solve. And it just doesn't feel like that right now. Lots of opportunities, like crosses gone, astray, passes that were missed and out of bounds, like that. Those are the kind of mistakes that we're seeing with this New York City team, which is kind of signs that you're closer to the wooden spoon than you're on a supporter shield. So, not saying that they're like all the way down there, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So, worrisome times for them. Great times for DC United. They've made moves that have raised their floor, and we're really seeing that in results like this. And I think we're going to continue to be a little bit surprised every time they get a result until we're used to it. That we know
yeah,
that this is a DC United team that's kind of in the middle of the road now.
yeah. It's just been so long. It's been
Yeah, it has.
it's
It
been
has.
so long. So give us grace. Um, the end of this, the Sunday afternoon soccer game that we got, Austin FC win 2-0. You talked about the ACL. Brandon Vasquez saw a return to the field in this one, so good to see that. He subbed on
Yeah.
late in this one, very brief showing, but they're just gonna. I'm sure they're gonna slowly get him back into the swing of things here. And you've got to imagine the goal is probably, hey, let's get your legs underneath you a little bit before the World Cup, and then after World Cup, we can really feel good about where you're at and let you start some games and move forward. So they win this game 2-0. Uzini just every once in a while resets the clock on how you feel about him
Yeah.
and gets that goal. Um, all time, all time bad counterattack. It might be the worst I've ever seen, Tony.
Yeah.
Those are the type of moments you go like you watch it live, and I watched it live. You watch it live, and you're like basically like saying to yourself, like, I know this is gonna get clipped and made fun of because this is the MLS. Like, be like, look at the quality of the MLS. Was it Hartel that I think it was Hartel that
Yeah. That
was
passed
leading
it.
it?
Yeah.
Has a one on one with the keeper. Like no one on defense, like anywhere close. And the only guy defending is guarding the basically the other guy that is going with Hartel on the wing there. And Hartel, instead of going at the net and scoring, tries to lay it off and be cheeky, overhits it. The shot goes in the side of the
Yeah.
net. It was so bad. I saw some. If you want to get some entertainment, just go on social media and just like search up his clip and like the quote
Yeah.
tweets and everything around it because it was people just being like, I like put my mortgage on St. Louis and that I had to watch this live. Like so many
Yeah.
things. It was horrible and kind of a now putting to St. Louis where they are now at this point. We felt great about them early on this year and like what they were building, and now it's not looked as good as of late. And you're starting to see some weird mistakes like this. And those are mistakes like poor teams make, and like when you're just getting your own head, like that's just a bad one. It's a bad one.
Yeah.
And
Right.
credit to Austin, they've been playing a little bit better. They get the result at home. They need to win these home games, and that's exactly what they do. So they're fighting right outside in that range of that playoff spot right now.
Yeah. I mean, Austin looked good, and I don't know if that's a St. Louis thing or an Austin thing, but they did look good in this game. Um, Christian Ramirez, for what he's been, is the stopgap until Vasquez gets back. I'd say that's a success. We can call that a good signing for Austin, and I think that's important because the GM situation in Austin has been kind of rocky. A lot of money spent, not a lot of goals in return, and so not necessarily a feather in his cap here, Rodolfo Boro, but like certainly like, hey, like it's not like everything he's doing is a swing and a miss. So
Hmm.
that's worked out for them. Ramirez had a great game here. He's rescued games in the past for Austin. Uzuni back a little bit, and I just think really if you get Uzuni in the right spots, which Austin has not been because of injuries and all of that. If you can find Uzuni in the right spots, you can make him a little bit more out wide. Then you can, you get to see what he can do. Um, so that's kind of the take on Austin. With St. Louis, though, because I am DeMay pilled, I think that this is not necessarily about coaching, like you said, but more so personnel. I mean, obviously, like, wouldn't it be real nice if instead of on the end of that golden chance, it wasn't Simon Betcher, but Zhao Klaus per chance,
Hmm.
Like, or how are we talking about this game differently? How are we talking about St. Louis's season differently? If you were on the field with them right now, you had someone like that at striker. So, yeah, I think it was a bad lead-in pass from Hartel. It's bouncing. It's a little bit too far ahead of him. Those kind of things, sure. But my argument would also be, was that a position that St. Louis was finding themselves in where they had breakaways and really good looks at net prior to Yohan DeMay? And, probably not that frequently. So I think that, I mean, the idea is like, if you can squeak into ninth place, if you're St. Louis this year, you're playing with house money in the playoffs. Next year is when the expectations are going to ramp up after you got basically two transfer windows to start working on the personnel here. But right now, for me, like it's like just you're kind of like the DC United of the West. Like just get a few results, be an improved team from last year, and like keep building. That's where they're at right now, and it's really early on in that journey.
Yeah, totally. We'll see how it all shakes out. It's gonna be one of those weird times. You're just gonna be so excited with the summer transfer window because it's gonna be coming off the World Cup and all the
Yeah, oh
hype
yeah.
going into like it's gonna feel like a new season and it's just gonna be all teams going at it. So it'll be exciting to watch this year. Okay, Tony. Well, let's get into everybody's favorite segment. That is our MLS Match Week 11 Power Rankings. I'm gonna share my screen here for those watching on YouTube, and we're gonna get into this. Now, I said it earlier, it's a weird week because we had a lot of these teams in the top draw, but there weren't not necessarily a bunch of teams that went and like took those spots. So I don't think we're gonna see a huge shakeup this week. Um, Most of it you're gonna see the shakeup at the bottom of the table. And to get us started, Tony, a team that bounced back well when they got their star player back, I'm gonna put Dallas in there. Um, a team I think me and you are both pretty high on. We think the ceiling for this team could be up there. Now it's going to be a very competitive West, so we'll see how far it can really go. But I think with Peter Musa on this team, like you just see how competitive they can be, and going to get a 2-0 road win is impressive. They're bouncing back after a little bit of a rough stretch there, and I feel good about them moving forward.
Yeah, I'll save my ranking comments till we see a couple more of these teams hop in. But for Dallas, what they are right now, I mean, they certainly have been a team that I think that on the right day you'd be afraid to play against them. Obviously, Musa, I believe that right now he's in the lead for goal contributions in the league, and he's missed a little bit of time with injury, so he's been really impressive. There's supporting cast around Dallas that doesn't get a lot of airtime, doesn't get talked about a lot, but especially Logan Farrington, I mean, can definitely catch you off guard. So this Dallas team has weapons. This Dallas team has some spunk to it, but there's still a lot to be seen there that we're hoping for from them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll address what you're probably thinking on your head right now. The one team that I have in that 11th spot behind Dallas is the Chicago Fire, and
Whoa, okay, yeah.
I'm gonna have them outside the top 10 this week. I think you've got to kind of count that as more as of recently what I've seen, and that loss is pretty brutal at home to lose the way they did. So I'm
Okay.
gonna
Well,
factor that
that's
in.
not who I
But
thought you were going to put at 10 either. So
okay.
I'm wondering where you're going with 9 now.
Yes, at 9, I am gonna go with the New England Revolution. Maybe that's not giving them enough credit.
Yeah,
I
wow.
I think I think we might have a DC effect going on in my head with this team,
Yeah.
where I just need to see more of it before I can consistently trust it. You talked about it. They're winning at home. They're playing a lot of home games right now, so that's helping them. They have not lost in a little bit here. They keep winning. So credit to them. I want to give them their flowers. I think what I've seen lately, they are definitely a top 10 team. Maybe could even be higher. Some people would argue. But I'm going to put them at 9, and I think I feel good about that as of right now. I don't want to jump the gun on New England too early.
Yeah. I just thought power rankings were like, what have you done for me lately?
I know, but it's yeah. I told you it's the DC effect. It's
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But, and I'm not, well, here's what, like, I think okay, so there's 5 teams that have not lasted their last 5 games. Of those 5 teams, there's 3 of them that have won their last 4 games, and New England is one of them. Or sorry, won 4 of their last 5. That is. So I'm not pulling for New England top 3, but winning 4 or 5 is rarefied air at the moment. I just think that maybe a couple slots up would have done them kind of good here, but nonetheless, they're on a very impressive run at the moment. They find themselves second in the East, which we mentioned earlier. You look at this Eastern Conference table right now, and it's just like a fever dream. But New England's a big part of that. Carlos Heel is a big part of that. Matt Turner is a big part of that. I think that they've just got weapons across the field. It feels like, okay, if Carlos Heel, switches off for a game, well, Matt Turner could like compensate and pick up for other things. Like it just feels like they've got a little bit of a roundedness to them that has made them just basically. Well, I mean, it has made them unstoppable at home so far this season. So I think they should have been a little bit higher, but I digress. I'll let you keep going here.
yeah. It's been weird for them too because it's not even been the guys you may have expected coming in this year. Like I think we all expected more from Dork Turgerman, like to be like
Yeah,
the guy for them, and he hasn't really done that yet, which is
been
maybe a
quiet.
good thing. Like the fact that he's not doing much yet, and they're winning the way they are at home. So we'll see how that continues to elevate them as a team. At the number 8 slot, 987, I'm pretty like you can go any which way, and I will not be mad. I'm gonna go. Oh, I this is the one spot I'm really torn about, Tony.
Oh my,
I'm gonna
yeah.
go. I'm gonna go Miami. I'm gonna go
Okay,
Miami. I'm gonna do it. I the only thing, and I'm gonna put the other one up there so we can discuss it as an overall. I'm put RSL there.
okay,
So the only reason I'm split on this is because Miami, they are a victim of their expectations for me in my head when I
yeah,
when I think of them, and they like you expect them to be 1 and 2 on this list. Like that's where they should be with the talent that they have. But they're not consistently showing that. They lose this week, so that's going to bring them down in the rankings in the way that they did. And then you have RSL, who I know are coming off 2 losses, one of which to Miami. So that's why I'm like, I don't really know how I want to do that. But they did show back up this week and respond well. So, like I said, 7, 8, 9. If you want to re-rank these, I would have no problem with any way that you're going to do it. I think there's very little separating these teams so far this season.
yeah. I would have flipped. I would have flipped RSL in Miami. I think that I understand the expectation thing. It's the opposite of the DC United effect
Yeah,
here with them, but at the same time, like the head-to-head between these two, Miami just won 2 games ago against RSL. Miami, after this loss, that's their first loss in the last 5 games, versus RSL has 2 of those. There's just a couple things like that that make me want to put Miami a little bit higher. But now that we're kind of past that danger zone, I will mention I was a little bit surprised that you didn't sneak in Cincinnati here at like the 10 or 9 spot.
yeah, no, I get it. I know the recent form has been good lately. They haven't lost their last 5, so
Yeah,
like that is good form. They're still on the outside looking in, and from like a standing standpoint for some of these teams, I know they're only a point back from Dallas. They were one of those teams that were hovering around that edge. I think I need to see it like one more time until I'm like,
Until you can break
and
them
and,
in.
I, and you know, I don't want to be a homer. I don't want the power rankings to be a bias. I need them to prove it to me, and
Well, you just
I
got
think
to
if they do,
defend it. You just
that's
got to
true.
stand by
That's
it. I
true.
mean, they
They're
are the
number one.
fifth
They're number
team
one,
that has
Tony.
not lost. They have not lost in the last 5 games. They are one of 5 teams to do that. So boom, right there.
Yeah. Well, maybe I just have it number one. We'll just put it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't seen the top six. They're four.
Oh god.
No, no. I think I still feel good about it. I think we could easily see Cincinnati jumping into the top 10 here soon and just staying there with how they play. So we'll see how they continue on. At number 6, Tony, I'm going to have Minnesota United, a team that was in the top 10 last week. They stay in the top 10. They bounce back well off of the loss in which the game we both thought they played better in that game, and they're now have won 4 or 5. They're rolling, and they have found an identity, and they've shown also the ability to play multiple ways if needed. And I think that's what I appreciate about this team and their ability to score consistently despite maybe playing more defensive. So Kelvin Yeboah, I mean, he's gonna. I think by the end of the year, he's gonna have one of his best years so far in the MLS. This team is more enjoyable to watch than what they were in years past, and how they play and how fluid they play. So I think this is very deserving for them.
Yeah, they've done really well. I mean, 4 wins in their last 5 is obviously really strong. Um, this is a new and improved Minnesota. It kind of holds a lot of the roots from last year that got them pretty far in a lot of competitions. But on top of that, I think it feels a little bit like they're trying to actually play soccer as well. Um, Not entirely, but a little bit. So it does feel like they're going good places with this. I do worry for them a little bit, just the Western Conference beating them down because there is some really strong opponents there that they're going to have to play home and away splits on. Um, and I don't know if they've really had a super tough schedule as of late, but I think that for time being, what have you done for me lately? You've won a lot, and you beat the Crew on the road down 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm impressed enough. Yeah, you can go in there.
Yep, I agree. Number 5 slot. This is one I was also like kind of kicking back and forth. I'm gonna go LAFC. Um, we talked about it. These top 5, none of them won. None of these teams
Yeah.
won. All the 5 teams I'm gonna have in here. And before that, we saw uh, Seattle. I'm gonna put it for playing better ball than LAFC. I think LAFC right now is, of course, a victim to multiple competitions, which I totally get. But even despite that, the offense hasn't looked great lately. They're still figuring it out. Great comeback to get the point on the road against San Diego. Um, but like I think there's teams like them in Nashville who you could see even jump another level in these power rankings once they're out of this other competition. But for now, I'm going to put Seattle in. They before this draw have been playing really good. They haven't lost in I think their last 6 in total, so that they're playing some good football right now. And we talked about it. They're still figuring it out a little bit, but I think they're going to figure out these rotations with these guys healthy. Like they're just going to win games. Like they're going to have the depth to feel more fresh than most of these MLS teams throughout the season.
Yeah, and I mean like LAFC and Nashville, honestly, for this rate, like they're juggling, the this Concacaf Champions Cup. It's a lot to weigh down, and this is a strictly MLS power ranking, so we have to
Mm-hmm.
ignore that part. But all that to say, like I expect them to bounce back once they're done with that. I think you made a comment like that. Like Nashville's going to be scary once they're out. LAFC same way. They're going to be a force to reckon with. So right now they have to rotate more. That does hit the results at times, like it did. On this draw here at Portland, they lost. Rotated. You're going to see some of that. For Seattle, though, that excuse is not there. The excuse is, oh well, we're coming back from injury, and I think it's somewhat fair. It's kind of been the state that Seattle's been in for like the last 12 months, but um, it is impressive that they are this high given just all the injuries that have hit them, and now reincorporating them is going to be something to watch. they definitely have room to improve into those top three spots with that.
Yeah, I mean, and they've still, I mean, they've played the least amount of games in the league. They're sitting at nine games played
Yeah.
versus some of the 10, 11 ahead of them, and they're still in fifth in the Supporter Shield standings with two less games played than a lot of these teams. So, this is a team that can jump even to another level, and I expect them to do so. It would be funny. Like they're never a supporter shield team. Like so that's just not what Seattle does. But this is the type of year with the depth they have. I'm like they could be. Like they could be a supporter shield dark horse this year if they stay healthy enough. And I think it'd be interesting to see if that's a run they decide to make. In the number three slot, I'm going to keep Nashville for now. Um, and I don't think there's much to surprise to what I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to put all these teams here, Tony. We have San Jose 1. We have Vancouver at 2, keeping the things same as last week. I just can't take much from all these draws. Like, I really can't, like, and just criticize and go into detail. Um, all of these were road draws. All of them were points on the road for these teams, and you just got to feel good about
Yeah.
that. Get your point on the road, get out. And I think for that reason, I'm just going to stand put and just not shake things up. I think that's fair to make that decision for this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that you could maybe argue is similar to Seattle is that Vancouver has one less game played, and Nashville also has one less
Mm-hmm.
game played. Vancouver could be tied with San Jose. Goal differential may look a little bit stronger. Those kind of minute things, right? They're not huge swings. Because honestly, if you really want to keep playing the compare game, it's like, all right, who's better? A draw at Galaxy or a draw at Toronto, and it's like, honestly, I don't know. That feels pretty split too. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty hard to draw the line at. So I'm fine with keeping everybody where they're at there. I think I probably would have put your top, yeah, probably top three. I would have held on to LAFC, but I think that's more of a gut thing at four. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit consensus with that top group. I mean, maybe the exact spot you can argue, but being in that cluster, I don't think you can. I think that's kind of cutting away. Definitely the top three, definitely the top two, and then where you drop everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like all of these teams in the top four, um, or a top five in my rankings, top four in Supporter Shield rankings, like we're missing some of their best players. Like a very injured riddled week, really just odd week overall for the Power Kings. And you saw teams that lived in that 15 to 20 range really make some jumps. Like they're closing that gap to the 10th, ninth, 8th spot. You mentioned Cincinnati. I think you could say that about DC. Even at this point, you could say that about Houston, who's inching into that conversation of teams who are just going to be slowly trying to make their way into this top 10. So
yeah,
not a week in which you saw anyone in the top 10 really establish themselves even further. Maybe Minnesota is the one team that you could say really went in there. New England to continue to cement themselves as a top 10 team. So I feel good about it. Not an exciting top power rankings this week. So sorry about that. But sometimes that's what soccer is. If you ever watch the Bundesliga or PSG, the top team never changes.
yeah.
So that's just how it is sometimes. So I feel good about it. I hope you feel good about it, Tony. Hope the listeners, if you feel different or not good about it, let me know in the comments. Who would you have changed
Hmm.
in that top 10? But that's going to do it for us this week, Tony. We have the episode on Thursday. We've got the preview. We've got the World Cup preview. So be on the lookout for that. And we will see you guys on Thursday or
See you.
Friday. Sorry, we're
Yeah,
recording on
Friday.
Thursday. We'll see
Yeah,
you on Friday.
we will see you. See ya.